Hey everybody, welcome to the gray area. It's Codependency Kate. If you guys notice, you might see that I have a different background now, and that's because I have moved to Dallas, Texas, and I'm happy as a lark. Obviously, what's today? Today, why does it feel like there's an echo? What is the deal? Does this sound better? Yeah, this sounds better. Okay. Yeah, I guess this is the setting. Okay, anyway, so yeah, we moved to Texas. It was smooth. Everybody's been asking. Thank you so much for caring. That's so nice of you. I started work last week. I took a week off to move and then I went back to work last week and then today is actually Monday. I'm so proud of myself for doing this. Because I really didn't want to, if I'm being honest. I feel like I have a million other things to do, but I got back online last week and I just love it. But I will say that the break was so nice mentally and emotionally. When I first decided, I kind of impulsively was like, you know what? I gotta stop posting. I gotta stop worrying about social media and my podcast. Like, I need to focus on this move. I could have kept posting, but, and there's a million reasons why I could have kept posting. Like Kate, you want to keep building momentum. You want this to be part of your career. You want to build educational tools. Like you want to, you don't know how the algorithm works. Like kind of a lot of fear happening. And I was like, Kate, what the fuck? Like, chill. You need to emotionally process this transition. Like, you need to clear space mentally for what you are about to experience. And that was such a healthy thought that I don't know where it came from, but it was so healthy. And I was like, that just feels right. Like, let's just take a break. And because like I'm so passionate about this stuff, I love this stuff. It doesn't feel like work to me whatsoever. It just feels normal and natural. I'm thinking about this stuff all the time. It's the lens through which I see the world. And I love sharing. I love educating. And you kind of never know what's going to land at what time. I've said this before. I feel like my ideas and thoughts they come to me from outside of me and I'm just like the voice. And so I act on that. And that's kind of my process in general. I don't really plan stuff. I wasn't trained to be a teacher where am trained to do curriculums and organize and have like modules and points per section type of thing. That's not the way I communicate, think, and operate. So, anyway, that's my process in general. And so I was like, am I going to miss out on things, all this stuff? But I really got to be in this experience of moving and nobody likes to move. It was hard on some levels. But it was so good. Like I cried, a couple of times, like even now, this morning I was overwhelmed and my husband, we were talking and tears just started coming. And I was like, oh, this is so good and so healthy. I'm so glad I'm like in my experience. Because otherwise, I realized too when I stopped posting, like, just on the wheel about stuff. And I don't think I would have emotionally processed this transition and it would have hit me like later sideways, what I know about trauma is that it's events that happen that you can't emotionally process in real time. And I was like, Kate, who are you if you're not like practicing what you're talking about? So I've said that I say this a lot that like everything I talk about, I do myself or like I believe in and it's integrated into my personal life on most levels. That's the goal is to be aligned. The expression those who can't do teach. I've been thinking a lot about that recently and I think the reason that is sometimes is because teaching is a brain thing. Like me being a therapist, that's a brain thing. But doing is a body thing. Doing is an emotions thing. And so I want to be able to do both and when those are in alignment, the brain and the body. And so anyway, that's what taking a break did for me is it wasn't necessarily pretty. It wasn't necessarily a relief. Sometimes even posting on social media is an escape. Like it's a fun adrenaline rush sometimes. So just having good expectations for that and really just letting myself experience it was so healthy. I knew it too that I would come back better. And it was so funny, I was scared of what not posting would do. And literally the first video I posted like picked up, and I'm like, oh my, you could see what I'm wearing. I'm in like this pink shirt that and like purple junk shorts, and like I obviously didn't expect it to go anywhere, but it was more about keeping the promise to myself and just, when an idea comes, just wherever you are, just boast about it and see what happens. And it was a tapping video of I taught people how to feel your feelings just by butterfly tapping, which is just you crossing your arms so that one is on each arm, or resting your hands on the top of your knees and just slowly tapping. And that connects both sides of your brain. It's called bilateral stimulation. I'm actually going to integrate this into my bend method. I don't know why I haven't done that before. It just, I don't know. So anyway, I did that video and it picked up and I'm like, okay, Kate, welcome back. Good job. You taking a break. Things are working, aligning for you. But back to moving to Dallas, I feel just career wise, like in this space, what I'm doing with Bend and online, I just feel like there's opportunity here. I feel like I can live. I thought when I moved here, I would really miss the geography, because I was in Western North Carolina, like these beautiful mountains. I was 2 hours north of Asheville in this little mountain town. And I thought I was, oh, I love my husband and I, we love the mountains. Like we're really going to miss it. And as I was driving here, my husband and daughter flew on a plane here, and I drove our car or one of the cars here, which was like a 2-day trip, and it was so nice. It was funny. My husband actually was like, "You and Jane fly, and I'll drive." And I was like, "You know what? I think 2 days by myself will be really great." And it was. And he loved the plane ride with her too, because he's like a celebrity at the airport, because there's no married men alone with babies at the airport. I told him, I was like, count how many of them that you see. And he did. And guess how many? None. So everyone was helping him. He was like a celebrity. I knew it would be like that for him. So anyway, it was great. But I got here and driving here, it's like wide open skies and the prettiest sunsets. And I felt like I just feel like here I can breathe. And I wasn't expecting that. But sometimes when, people's happy place, a lot of times is the ocean, or the mountains. It's this like thing. But for me, I've realized it's skies. Like it's just wide open skies. I just feel so good and it just feels so right here. It's funny. I was telling people, I was like, I'm so excited to move there, but not like that, like, cause Texas is pretty crazy, but, I kind of love it. I love the obnoxiousness of the like stereotype of Texas. And so that's been really fun. I will say that in the short term future, I'm going to get so into Bend and what that actually looks like. I'm going to do a series on each letter. And as you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but it's my like emotion regulation tool. And I talk about it in the context of parenting, because I think that managing your beliefs about parenting and your emotions are like the two things that make you in control, and that help prevent this like shitty behavior that we do sometimes as people, like yelling, talking with a tone, spanking. I'm actually like, I was not sure if I was going to post this or like record this podcast, because I'm like knee deep right now on my Instagram stories of spanking, like having a discussion about it. And so anyway, I'm getting all these responses and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I just need to do the podcast. So, what am I saying? Oh, back to this. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing a lot of Ben stuff in the short term. I'm working on a guide. I'm working on, I don't know, a course. I feel like honestly weird about selling stuff. At the same time, I want to provide resources. So I guess I just won't sell it at a big price. I'll make it affordable for literally everybody. That's the goal. My goals are education, accessibility, stuff that therapy like doesn't really therapy itself is incomplete in those areas. And that's my goal ultimately, because I just love the educational aspect. But so that's what's to expect like in the future. But what I wanted to talk about today was what a lot of people have asked me to talk about, and it's chronic defensiveness and how to actually respond to that in real time. So I have worked with and have a heart, the biggest heart for women in marriage and women that are with men who they love, who they want to be with, who don't like physically abuse them or even verbally abuse them, kind of these explicitly negative, abusive things. And a step further than that, they're like friends with their husband. They have a great compatibility and a great, back and forth. And when things are good, they're really good. And even financially, maybe there are some parts of that where, he's very generous. And I'm going to be heterosexual about this because I don't think this is gender specific necessarily, but I do think there women in marriage with men is something to get specific about. So I'm going to do that today. And we're going to keep talking about, so when everything is right, but there's something wrong, like where like your sexual desire is not there and your conflict isn't there and there's avoidance and you come online, maybe you found me because of my chronic defensiveness being abused, like that video. Maybe that's what you came to my page about. And that's what so I've been posting for 4 years I started in May on TikTok in 2021. And this is kind of the stuff I posted about. And my kind of shtick was like, you don't have to leave the relationship to find yourself. And how do people actually heal in relationships? I remember being in school to be a therapist, and I was like learning all this stuff about couples therapy, and I was eating it up. It was like feeding my soul all of this knowledge. And I was like, okay, I feel so competent, armed with this information in a therapy space where I'm the therapist and I'm guiding people. I feel so competent in that. That's kind of a natural, I don't know if gift, but like I want to help other people. And, it's again, that teaching aspect, like those that can't teach, I really wanted to teach. But then at the same time, I was like, okay, but I want the best marriage ever too. How does someone do this alone? Because a lot of times too, we're learning in school that women usually are like dragging their husbands to therapy. So, and then I was like, this was during COVID times that I was in school. And so I was in a deconstruction phase there. Like I had a lot of time on my hands. And I was like, what's the history of couples therapy? Like, is it for women? But then I was thinking realistically, like therapy is only 1 hour a week, maybe two. If you go twice a week, it's 2 hours a week. But marriage is life. And so, and then I'm learning family systems. So family systems, that's the overall theory that I went to school for. Marriage and family therapy, family systems theory. It's the theory that in families, it's just you're learning the mechanics of systems and roles that people play. This may be familiar to you if you have studied or looked into addiction, or if you've had a family member with addiction and you've been to like a family week at a rehab, or you've been to AA or Al-Anon or read books. They talk a lot about family roles and changing the cycle, and how if you change the role you play in the relationship, that the relationship itself will change. So again, here I am in school, kind of deconstructing this stuff. We got married when I was in grad school. Like I just felt like I was in this pressure cooker immersion program of life of like, what do I think about this? What is my, being a therapist is really natural to me, but I'm also now a wife where I'm living this stuff. And so how do I align myself with what I talk to my clients about, and what does that look like? And so anyway, that's why I started posting on TikTok, because I was seeing on TikTok just this conversation around if you aren't happy in your relationship, then your only option is to leave. And you see that all over online. So the first 3.5 years of me posting on TikTok was I actually had a username. It was restoring relationships. And my bio was, you don't have to leave the relation. You don't have to, keyword, have to, because I don't care. If you want to leave, leave. That's not my point. Like my point is to do whatever you want to do, but if you want to stay, here is the gray area of that. Here's information to understand to help you with this gray area. And so before I kind of hit the estrangement niche back in April or March, whenever I blew up in April, but I think I started posting about this in March. And I hope I like listen to myself say that I blew up, and I feel like, is that bragging? I don't know. It's true. And I mean, honestly, I'm proud of it, and I was kind of due for it. So just saying, just saying, just saying. A lot of estranged parents that are out for me, they call me a narcissist. So I don't know if that falls in that category, but whatever. I also read somewhere in a book one time, it made me laugh, that humility is mental illness for women. So anyway, here we are. And this is my experience too, like working with couples. I've worked with a lot of queer couples and I've worked with a lot of straight couples. This is like the majority of who I worked with in my kind of formative experience when I first started seeing clients. So again, super passionate about it from just a value standpoint. Like I believe marriage, family, like it's such a foundational part of life. Career to me is obviously foundational from an individual standpoint, but as we all know, the quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. And marriage, of all things, to me, it's like even bigger than marriage. It's like a men and women thing. Like we've been at odds for, like women have had to be enmeshed with men for their survival for all these years and years and generations and what's the word? Hundreds of years, centuries, centuries and millennium. I don't know. Like, I don't know how far it goes back, but women have had to do that. And then what was it? The 70s and 80s where like divorce skyrocketed. And now I feel like, 50 years later, we have so much access to information. And the answer to these problems can't just be to leave, right? Like that can't just be. And so that's what that's where I am coming from, is like, what is the gray area? Now, what I want to say before I get into this is that ultimately, like, remember, I am not your therapist. If I haven't met you, I don't know you, you don't know me. This has so much more context and layers. And if you've been married, especially, literally more than a year, there's history that I don't understand that may be really important in determining what decisions you make in the future. Like what I'm saying isn't for one type of person. But I think it's best with any video online and anything in general to really sit with this stuff and think about if this is for you or not. Like what parts of this are for you and what parts of it are not. Like maybe it's so crazy, like how everybody is coming from such a different place. And so I just want to say, honor that within yourself. I post videos on all types of things, and it's so crazy how I get so many different types of comments. And obviously, right? Like obviously everybody's different, but I'll post a video on something about parents, and I'll have someone say, "Thank you so much for posting this. This makes me solid in my decision to go no contact." So that will be one comment. The next comment will be like, "Thank you so much for posting this. This really makes me have compassion for my parents and feel hopeful that we can have a relationship in the future." That's another comment. Another comment from an estranged parent is like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was doing this. Thank you so much for sharing." Another comment is like, "Fuck you, you little bitch. Like I can't wait till your kids are grown one day." So it's just everybody is coming from their own stuff. And I am not the ultimate authority on your life, your relationships in general. Like I genuinely feel like I have some information. I have a platform, like I've created this situation. There's something with everything in my life that has led me here. I am here to share this information. Take it or leave it, take parts of it, and then throw away the rest. Honestly, I have no ego in whether this works for you. I am passionate about it. And so I kind of speak in a way that's passionate and that is very persuasive sometimes too, because I am so clear about these things. But please, like, just big disclaimer, like, informed consent. You're engaging with this knowing that, you know, I'm not your therapist. So, and then, but moving to the other thing, if this resonates with you, good, run with it. Like, integrate this into your life in some way. I'm so for you. Like, at the same time that I don't know you and all this stuff, I am so for you. And this is why I do it, because I think when I was in school, I was like, why doesn't everybody know this information? I am so for women. I am so for women in the world historically, like us being in a place where it's like we have choices and we have power and more than we have ever had as a group of people. And so, like, please, I want to empower you too. Like, I don't like to infantilize people. That's why I'm on this. That's why I do this too. Like, there are some therapists, a lot of therapists that troll me, that hate that I'm doing this. They're like, oh, she's an influencer. Like, oh, she's a narcissist. Oh, she's trying to do this. She's trying to scam people and make money. Like, whatever, bitch. Whatever. You like whatever. So my thing is, what am I saying with that? Just that, oh, I don't infantilize people and think I know what's best for people, and so I stay quiet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that you don't know anything and that you can't make your own decisions and that you don't understand that this is social media and a podcast and that we don't know each other. I'm not going to assume that you're developmentally 2 years old. Like, you're a grown ass adult listening to my stuff. Like, you're consenting to this also. And my job is just, again, to lay out, just to remind you of those parameters that, one, I'm not your therapist, but two, you're a badass and can make your own decisions. So there's that. All right. So moving to this chronically defensive issue, I think it resonates with so many people because it's so erosive. Like, it's so destructive. I describe defensiveness as carbon monoxide. Like, you don't know what it is, but there's something that is just fucking killing you in your relationship. You may be anxious and depressed. Like, you may want to eat a lot more than you normally do. You may not feel any desire for your spouse. And you're like, what is this? You may have feelings for coworkers. Like, you may be like looking at thirst traps online. You may be really into smut books. Like, more than what you feel is comfortable. Because again, that's what matters, is what you think about this stuff. Do you feel like it's too much? Do you feel like you're crossing lines that normally you wouldn't cross? Do you feel out of control? I remember reading somewhere that, like, if you don't know what's wrong with your relationship, it's but there's something wrong. You just can't point your finger on it. It's emotional abuse and emotional neglect. So I'm going to say that again. If you're in a relationship and you have the money, you have, the family, you have the faith, whatever in your mind looks picture perfect, but on the inside, it doesn't feel that way. Like, your emotions, you just don't feel that way. What's happening is most likely emotional abuse and emotional neglect. That's the nature of that's the destructive nature of these two things. And chronic defensiveness is, like, to me, this, and chronic defensiveness and stonewalling being the silent treatment. Those two things to me are, like, so, again, they're poisonous. They're so poisonous. And there is a way to have boundaries and to deal with this for yourself. Now, if you have watched my video, so I want to preface this, because again, I think if I'm not clear, I'm going to be as clear as I can be, but I'm sure there's still a lot of confusion, because again, this is a very confusing thing. That's like, let me just say this. The hallmark of emotional abuse and emotional neglect is confusion, so mental confusion and emotional overwhelm. Those two things. So, I talk about overthinking, like how your brain is foggy, how there's smoke, like it feels that way. You can't think very clearly. It's really tough because there's a lot emotionally going on. There's fires on the first floor. That's the emotional overwhelm and the mental confusion. These are the hallmarks of emotional abuse and neglect. Mental, and taking it a step further, mental health issues co occur with family systems issues. Mental health issues, in my opinion, 100% of the time co occur. So that means they happen parallel to, or they have a relationship with your relationships. So your family, your spouse, your marriage and your family of origin, or like the people that you're around or your coworkers, like it's anxiety, depression, mood disorders. I mean, even borderline, like things we know about personality disorders now, they all correlate. They hold hands with family systems issues. And so again, when we're thinking about, is this true for me? To me, the questions are about you and your behaviors and your feelings. Are you, if someone's like, what's wrong with your relationship, or like what's happening? There's something wrong, but you can't say it. Do you really not know how to say it? Do you not really know the answer? Other than like, we're not having sex really, or something. You know what I mean? Is it really tough to describe? Do you feel like when things are good, they're good, and then when they're bad, right? Like that's a toxic relationship dynamic. And the behaviors within that dynamic, the main one to me is defensiveness and stonewalling. And so for you, indicators for you, if that's the case, are people pleasing, right? Like when you're fawning, when you're just like, yeah, sure, whatever, like I'll just apologize. Or like you're searching on TikTok over and over, incessantly looking for a diagnosis that feels right. So now you're in this like loop of like, okay, is he a narcissist? Is he OCD? Is he autistic? He's got to be fucking autistic. Is he emotionally unavailable? Like, what is the container to put this shitty, abusive behavior in so that I can know how to respond to it? Biggest one is he's an avoidant. He's a dismissive avoidant, right? Are you spending your time ruminating about what's going on with him? Is he cheating? Is he a workaholic? Like, what is it? Like, I want you to be aware and to think about the process that's happening within you, not the content of it, not the like, okay, I'm married to a narcissist. The content, the words, like the words themselves, the details. I want you to notice the process. So the dynamic. So this involves kind of a new level of awareness of stepping back after an interaction with them and really reflecting like, okay, what was I saying? And what did they say? And how do I feel? And what did I say? And if it escalated or not or whatever. And this again it may take the work of a therapist, like to help you really like track the cycle. That's what us couples therapists are trained to do. And I would recommend seeing a couples therapist individually to like describe it from your point of view. Like, hey, I think I'm in an abusive relationship, but I really need to understand what's happening and slow this down. Because when things happen, when conflicts happen, I get so overwhelmed that I don't know what's what. I don't know what the fuck happened. And so, for your own mind, I bet if you're somebody in this position, you intellectualize things. You're also a fixer. So there's something to do there. But, so I think it's again noticing where you're out of alignment with yourself. Like maybe you were a baddie before you got married, and maybe just over time. And I'm getting this information, you guys, from like, I think hundreds of comments and messages I've gotten about this dynamic. My husband is chronically defensive. What do I do about it? I don't want to leave. I'm a stay-at-home mom. My kids are, 8 and 5, and I'm doing a lot with them, and I don't want to give that up. And Um, yeah, so going to see a couples therapist to track the dynamic. But again, I want you to notice your process, yours. And I want to pivot real quick too, because this is a big thing, is sex. From what I'm experiencing online, like in just talking with things with people, sex is so compartmentalized in marriage. It is so separate from these individual issues. Like I've gotten comments or messages where people are like, my husband is this way. He'll do this and this when I say something, and my feelings, like I ended up being really confused about what I felt, and he just won't change, and no matter what I do, he won't. And I'm like, okay. Um well, just out of curiosity, like what's your sex life? How often are y'all having sex? Or like, are you still sleeping in the same bed with him? Are you still doing his laundry? And so sometimes they'll say, I've stopped doing his laundry. I've stopped cooking him food. Like I'm really having boundaries. Like it feels like we're separated. And then I'm like, okay, well, are you guys still having sex? And it's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, wait, what? What? So he is being so shitty to you emotionally, and you're still having sex with him. And I feel like that may have come off as judgmental, but I just want to be very clear of how compartmentalized sex is. And I think my theory, it could be a lot of reasons. Everybody's different for your reasons for that. There is so much fear and like survival tied to that in a marriage. There's been so much messaging in our culture, even to this day, by pastors, by men themselves, husbands themselves, about this issue that if he's not getting it from you, he's going to get it from somewhere else. And that is, women have had to believe that for their own survival of the marriage and of the family. Because again, we're going back to marriage was survival for women and even her entire family. I mean, watch any old show that was from before the 70s. Like, look around. That's reality. And I think a lot of beliefs that conflict with that are like, men and women are supposed to be together. I love him. There's all this fairy tale shit. Like, there's all this. If you open your eyes, like, there's so much messaging about women being in love with men. And the reality is that it's been survival. That's the reality. That's the reality. Things are not unconditional, people. They're not unconditional. That is a myth. That's not, I mean, so my point being that you can love your husband unconditionally. Like you can love him unconditionally and it not be at the expense of yourself. Like, I mean, to give you guys I saw this comment on one of my posts that was like, yeah, my husband was, struggling with alcohol addiction. And, we had to be separated for 3 years for him to figure that shit out. And he finally got sober and we're back together and he's the love of my life. And, she's saying that in such a beautiful way, but I'm like, man, I wonder what that was really like. I wonder what it brought out of her. Like, we imagine this like saintly woman who's just like, handles things so calmly and, just kind of quietly exits type of thing. And I'm like, who knows what that was like? Realistically, what that looks like is a lot of fuck yous, is a lot of like, I'm divorcing your ass. Like, that's what it kind of looks like, It's like, move out, move out. So you can love someone unconditionally and then be your best friend, all that stuff. And like, not at the expense of yourself, like, not at the expense of your kids, not at the expense of, just your sanity. Like if you notice yourself or you're getting out of your alignment with yourself and you're just like you're putting up with shit from all this fear because you're a stay-at-home mom. It's interesting how we play out our family trauma in our relationships too, because we want to marry someone that's different. We do all this emotional stuff to improve the relationship. We do all this work and then we marry and we do the same stuff. And the reality is we also feel a helplessness in terms of actions of what we can really do. Because in our family as a kid, what are you going to be like? Mom, I'm leaving home. We've seen that video. Curtis. What was that show? Wife Swap? When he's like, I'm packing my bags. And he leaves and he walks down the street and then he comes back. Because, like, yeah, he's a little kid. What can he do? Kids have an inherent powerlessness over their environment, over their situation. And we carry that into marriage. And then we put ourselves in positions, being stay at home moms or not being set up financially on our own, not having any potential in that way, where there's that vulnerability still. And I've like come a long way with my content because I used to like we're taught in school so much that vulnerability, 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 like Brene Brown, shame, vulnerability, vulnerability. And it's like in these situations with women, that's the opposite of what you need to be doing. Like that's the opposite that I mean, it feels good. It feels familiar because that's what you did with your parents, like in your family and whatever other shitty situation is like, maybe if I just say this the right way, they'll understand. If I'm just soft enough, if I'm just like gentle enough. This guy, God, oh, he, I think he follows me. So if you hear this, I'm looking at you, I'm watching you, but I made a video, like I normally do, that's very clear, very direct in my kind of normal tone. And I think he messaged me even and was like, um, you know, I really appreciate your page and your message. And I just hope you remember that it's gentleness that makes the change. Like it's gentleness and softness. And I was like, okay. Like I'm so triggered and personally offended by that. But I also had someone else on my page. I made a video of how to respond to this, and I'm going to get to that in a second of like what to actually do in the face of this chronic defensiveness, specifically, and stonewalling and escalated behavior. But where they were like, I don't know. I'll get into that in a second. But basically, they were just like, yeah, this was a shitty way to respond. This is going to escalate. This is what you want to say instead. Like, I'm not feeling safe right now. So I really want to connect with you, but we're going to leave. And, I'm going to leave and then come back in 5 minutes and hopefully we'll be okay. I'm just like, do you live on fucking planet Earth? When has like the tone ever mattered? When has tone ever mattered? Like you're not living, you clearly don't have experience working with people that struggle, that have these issues. Like tone does not matter when you are in an unsafe dynamic, which is this chronic defensiveness. So that's what I'm going to drive home today is like how to actually deal with it, because the bottom line is that you are not in a healthy two-person relationship. This person on an emotional level is your adversary. Anything that you say, they perceive as an attack. They have, like, we're talking about women and men here. These men almost have this like incel mentality in their marriage that everything she does, like everything wrong with me is because of her. Everything wrong with my life is because of her. That's like incel mentality. Incel me is a shorter word for involuntary celibate. Yeah, it's a whole group. Y'all heard me on my last podcast. It was funny. I was talking to my friend and she was like, I was texting her and she was like, oh my gosh, I was literally just listening to your podcast. And she was like, I'm at the part where you compare estranged parents to incels. And just hearing it from the outside like that, I'm like, oh my God, did I really say that? I'm like, yeah, I fucking did. Because these men in the world online in this community, like don't even go there if you're listening and you're curious about it. It's so toxic and it doesn't even make sense. But these men, they really think that they're involuntarily celibate. Like they're this big catch and that women are to blame for not being attracted to them. And they also hate other men that get with women. Anyway, this is the mentality that some of these men have in these marriages. And they're and so they are like estranged parents in that way that like it's so absurd you can't even like believe it's real. And I believe if you're a woman and you are in a marriage where your husband is chronically defensive, first of all, I believe you. I believe you that you're trying everything. And I know that because you're here listening to this and you follow my page like a hawk and engage and like are waiting for me to drop something else because I'm the one person that's going to tell you how to do this both ways. And like, you need an advocate in your corner. And that's me, girl. I got you, girl. Don't worry. We're going to keep talking. And I'm like, keep learning because your journey here is not one of others centered. Like it's not one of put him first. Stop listening to all of the content that is like, hey, if you do this, watch your dynamic change. I've actually listened to some of my old videos, and that's the kind of stuff I say sometimes. I'm like, shit, I don't mean that because there's a difference between a like normal stuff in a marriage where like, yeah, if you have a softer tone, he will step into that, but that's only if he takes responsibility for himself. There's two categories of relationships. There is those relationships where both people are working on it. Like both people are listening to my stuff. Both people are watching whatever and they're doing whatever. And those are the people that most relationship content online is for, is people that really have quirks. There's no big T trauma. There's no emotional abuse. There's just like marriage stuff, or like whatever. I honestly think a lot of that can be traced back to emotional abuse and neglect, like where there's an emotional immaturity to those relationships, where there is a codependency. They just like don't see it that way, or there's just nothing wrong with what they're doing. Things are working. So, there's that type of relationship, but then there's actually emotionally unsafe ones. And those are the ones that I'm talking about today, where like maybe your partner would even be there for you if you're dealing with something else. Like maybe if you have a bad coworker or like a family thing, even they are there for you and they are in your corner and they support you and whatever. But when it comes to stuff between the two of you, issues with them, like him specifically, they are not open. They make no changes. And over time, you just feel like a crazy person because you are like, everything on paper is great. But between the two of us, there's no intimacy emotionally. And that's again where sex being compartmentalized is so interesting. And that to me comes from people not being just, I don't know, not women educated, being scared, not being educated. Obviously, men not understanding this shit, but not enough information out there about it where it's like not common or not common sense or like just known information. I did a video a couple months ago that I was like, oh shit, this is one of those videos. It's like, oh, this is gonna get me a lot of hate from men and that's scary. But I made a video and it was so good. I'm so proud of it to this day I said, it's a normal thing in marriage where if your husband is not meeting your emotional needs, where he's kind of gaslighty or he's not there for you about issues you have with him because he's not doing shit around the house or he's doing the bare minimum, he's breadcrumbing you. It's normal if you feel like your emotional needs have to be met to feel desire for them. It would be normal in that situation to not have sex with them. That's a boundary. It would be normal to stop having sex with your husband because he is not responding to you emotionally. What that means is when you have an issue with him, he is defensive. He flips it back on you. What is it? Darvo, deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. Like where suddenly it's your problem because it's your delivery, or he's bringing up issues from the past, or he's bringing up like, well, you didn't do this, or like whatever the fuck he's saying. Anything other, again, your guidelines are going to be anything other than, oh my gosh, my bad. Let's talk about this. Anything other than that is emotional abuse. Someone asked me, what's the difference between just defensiveness and immaturity and emotional abuse? And I don't, we can get all semantics about it and details about it because the intent itself, it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't matter how you view it. It doesn't matter how you conceptualize it in your brain. Um, what matters is how you respond to it. Because again, like that's part of feeding your like addiction of, is this avoidant attachment? Is this narcissism? Is this XYZ? Is this emotional immaturity? Or is this abuse? The idea is that it's two things: the impact of the behavior over time, and to the position. So, like, it's the position that they're in. As a man, he has more power in the relationship, especially financially, if you're a stay-at-home parent. Like, especially, someone asked me to elaborate on that. And it's like, well, if you have no power outside of the home from an economical standpoint, you can't just go to the store if he's not paying, like, uh, I mean, what's my point? Like, obviously, in marital terms, like his money is your money, but there's still abuse that can happen in that sense. Just because that's legally true doesn't mean that's actually the situation. So, the point is that intent doesn't matter, because the idea is that this is his problem that he needs to take ownership over. He can conceptualize it a million. That's his question. What is this about me? Am I a narcissist? Am I just emotionally immature? Like, is this fixable? Do I have autism? Like, what the fuck is it? And he take responsibility for that himself and take his ass to a therapist and get a diagnosis or get a plan? Or is this just a men's entitlement issue? Is this just an ignorance issue? What is this? What matters is how he sees it himself in his own mind. When we're breaking free of enmeshment and codependency, we have to let people come to things on their own, in their own way. And we have to create the space for that. Um, what what was I gonna say? So how do we do that? How do we step back and let people face their own consequences and thus take responsibility for their behavior? What I want to say to this too is that what you need to understand is that his defensiveness is his issue. His defensiveness is not a relationship issue. Sure, there's like a dynamic, right? Right, like you could have a complaint, then he's defensive. Like there could be a cycle, so there's a cue or a stimulus of when he's defensive, like something happens right before it. Sure. But that does not mean that it's a relationship issue. The idea is that if we step back from the codependency, from the cause and effect, we realize that people are actually accountable for their own behavior and their own choices. And that's where it comes to you too. Because in your mind, you may be saying, he's so defensive. This is why I am ruminating all the time on this stuff. But he's so defensive. This is why I'm doing this. Like, no, you're actually choosing to do that. But here's the other way. Here's the other way. This week, I did a video on the drama triangle, and I would really encourage you to read about that and the role that you play. Now, again, going back to what I was saying at the beginning of this podcast, that when, oh, what was I saying? Shit. Okay, here we go. If this is about your own behavior. Like, so the idea is that when they're doing whatever they're doing, he's attacking, he's being defensive, whatever, you're noticing in yourself this role that you're playing. The drama triangle has three different roles. There's the persecutor, the victim, and the rescuer. So the persecutor is most likely your husband, and he's also the victim. He's also the victim. And that puts you in a rescuer role. The persecutor is, oh, you're not having sex with me because I'm not meeting your emotional needs, whatever that means. Like you're withholding, you're manipulating. That's persecuting. That's going after you. That's attacking your intentions and your character. That's not valid. That is not something to engage with because, again, that is part of the drama. It's drama. And what we want to do in this situation is detach ourselves from the drama cycle and create space between ourselves and this drama. And that's what creates space to heal. And what that looks like is maybe sleeping in the other room. Maybe that looks like meeting with a lawyer to look at your options. Just a consultation. If you pay for a one-time consultation, you tell them your situation and they'll tell you. A lot of times, like I was just in North Carolina working with people, and I think in North Carolina, you have to live apart for 1 year before you can be legally separated. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is such a gray area. That's a great thing because you can still work on the relationship, and I'm saying this like it's easy. It's obviously not easy, but what I'm telling you is that this behavior is poison and you need to treat this almost as if it's an addiction, like as if they're addicted to heroin. Like it's that it's obviously that um destructive. Like it's that destructive to your life and to your emotional and mental health and sexual health. And so um anyway, like so there's steps to boundaries of like I'm not engaging in this shit with you. And you yourself know your situation more than anybody. You might be like, this is some bullshit. But the deal is that you're not engaging in the rescuer role. You're not becoming a therapist. You're not becoming a teacher. Because again, so they're going to be persecuting, right? They're going to be like, attacking your intentions, which again is emotional abuse. Like it is. You are going to, if you're in touch with your emotions, you're going to be pissed and you're going to maybe like go crazy because this is crazy making. That's the point, right? Like that's the point. This chronically self-protective behavior in the face of a non-threat, like in a normal complaint, like you could be the most critical person and it still wouldn't justify defensiveness. Like it wouldn't. And we're talking about with men and women, men in this situation being defensive because I think I said this last time, but there's research that says when men get emotionally mature, like the whole relationship's transformed, everything is all good. It's not the same with women. That is not the case. 40 years of research say that. And so when someone else said, well, like, what if you're defensive in response to, like trauma and you're being abused in your relationship. Like, then I wouldn't call that defensiveness. I would call that reactive abuse or like, it's not even abuse, because it's really, there's a difference between chronic defensiveness and defending yourself, like if a man is attacking you, saying stuff. Yeah. But I've also heard people say, estranged parents actually, or parents that are estranged, they say, I've been really defensive with my kids because I have ADHD and I have like rejection sensitivity dysphoria or whatever. And so the point is that, but even in that situation, they have ownership over the problem. And I'm always like, I wonder what environmentally had to happen for you to pursue this awareness journey. And it's always my kids don't stop talking to me. Or like my life just stopped working for me. There were different relationships that just stopped working. And so when I say treating this like an addiction, like people maintain their addictions because their life is working. And if you're married to somebody, every time you engage in this rescuer role, every time you don't take action and remove yourself, state your boundary and remove yourself, and then start removing yourself in bigger ways, but while maintaining, I love you and this is bullshit and it needs to change. Like this is a male, like you have issues. This has to change. And then when they're like, well, it's you. It's like, no, it's not. It is not. This is your issue and it needs to change. I love you. I want to be married to you. And I can't tolerate this shit. And we're only going to discuss logistical things. And here's the thing, you guys, this is the biggest thing. You are responsible for following through on what you say. Nobody is coming to rescue you. Nobody is coming to make this easier for you, because as many times as they have come at you, and every time you played therapist, or you didn't stand up for yourself, or you didn't assert your needs, or you had sex when you didn't want to, or you went to a wedding with him as his date when you didn't want to, like all these things that you did were betraying yourself. And as much as his behavior is fucked up, you and this self betrayal is what is fueling this like poison inside of you. Like that's what's making you exist in this carbon monoxide without a mask, without protection. And the idea is like, fine, be carbon monoxide, bitch, to your husband. Like, do that. Do that. You're going to stay in that room with the door shut, and you can just, it's going to affect you only, because it's not going to infect me anymore. And so, I was saying this to someone, but like, when you start standing up for yourself, it's almost a spiritual thing for women, because doors will start to open, like it just is. Because for women, our spirituality is grounded in the earth and in our emotions and in our intuition, and in finally putting ourselves first. And for the family, you don't know what's gonna. So, what am I saying? Yeah. So anyway, so this is not going to take one time. It's not going to take 10 times. It's not even going to take 50 times, guys. Because the goal and the idea, this is for yourself. Like, we want to do this for your family too. But it's for yourself mainly. And it's going to take time to rebuild that self-trust, that I don't want to have sex with you. And there's nothing you can say to manipulate or coerce, because that's what it is. When they're defensive, that's coercion. That's, I'm going to wear you fucking down. I'm holding you like under siege, like hostage by my walls of defense. And I'm going to deplete you of all your resources. And like, that's what this is. And it's just like, you're actually not going to do that. In conjunction with standing up to them in the moment is you have to have your own life. You have to have your own life. And I'm not saying like create your own career, but your happiness has to be outside of your marriage. That's the codependent part of you too, is like, I can only get my physical needs met by him. It's like, go hug something else. Like, damn, like get a vibrator. I'm so serious. I'm so serious. Like, be flexible in what you can do and what you need to do. Be flexible. Damn, what was I going to say? It was really important, but yeah, this is this is a self journey. This really is a journey about yourself, and it's going to require you to step into the unknown. So this whole process is uncomfortable as fuck, but it's stepping into the unknown and the uncertainty. And if you believe in something bigger, now's a really good time to connect with that. But that's what people really struggle with in this position, is like, I don't, because it's when you stop pathologizing them, cause that gives you the illusion of control. When you stop saying, oh, they have ADHD, oh, they like fucking have avoidant attachment, whatever. When you stop doing that, you actually have to sit with the discomfort of knowing that you don't know how this is going to turn out. You don't know how this is going to turn out. He could change. Everything on the internet says he's not going to. Everything on the internet says men don't change, and the only thing is to leave. And that's all you're going to find on the internet when you're looking, when you're looking for it. Those are your worst fears. And you need to know that when you see that stuff, you have to say to yourself, I am so scared. But what you're asking him to step into is his own spiritual journey of stopping being so fucking selfish, and that the world exists outside of him. His journey is different than yours. When you stop focusing on him and start focusing on yourself, And by any means necessary, it doesn't necessarily have to mean divorce. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. For some people, it does. For some people, it doesn't. But him becoming emotionally healthy is good for everyone. It's good for you. It's good for the kids. It's good for him, health wise. Like, it's good for him. And you got to just stop rescuing him from the consequences of his own behavior. Some people say, they say, oh, I don't want him to be hurt. I don't want him to be stressed. Maybe I've stressed him out too much. And when you say that, you're projecting, because for you, if things were easier for you, then you could be better. That's your process. Some people thrive when there's 1,000 problems, and when, people have to crack, like they have to hit rock bottom. They have to realize this isn't the way that I am is not working for me. And so if you can do, I don't know, these 3 or 4 things. 1, hold the boundary every time. Like, don't engage in your role. I don't care if you're the persecutor. Like, I don't care. Like, do what you need to do. But for the sake of your own health, number 1, notice this drama when it's happening. Because also, this drama doesn't mean you stop confronting him with your feelings and your issues. It's like, hey, you said you were going to do the dishes last night and you didn't again. What the fuck? Like, his defensiveness does not mean you stop being courageous and doing what you believe integrity wise is the right thing for a marriage. Because here's another thing. I hear this all the time. I want to do what's best for the relationship. Me doing this isn't what's best for their relationship. The relationship is comprised of 2 people, and all you have control over is yourself. And doing what's best for the relationship is kind of an arbitrary thing. Like, you're gonna lead yourself down codependent routes. And so you have to, like, do what's best for you. That's what's best for the relationship, because there's 2 people in it and you have to be a whole person. And right now you're not a whole person because you're sacrificing, you're cutting off parts of yourself for this relationship, for this dynamic, the way that it is. Because I want you to understand that what you're stuck in is simply a dynamic with him. Y'all are playing these roles, and to step out of the roles and into a new relationship, remember, attachment is the first thing that's what you're in right now. You're attached. And so you need to detach, create some space for him to feel the effects of his behavior, whether that's not sleeping in the same bed, whether that's standing up to him. Like, it takes what it takes. Some people it's taken one time. Like, I had someone comment on my video. They were like, I responded to him in this way, where I was like, hey, I'm not interested in anything other than compassion and curiosity. I'm not going to engage with you until you can give me those 2 things, and walk away. That was the video I did. And someone responded and was like, I did this today, and my husband came back an hour later and apologized. So I don't know your relationship. Sometimes that's all it'll take, but you have to be willing to do what the fuck it takes. And for you, that's going to be a grieving process. For you, this is going to be excruciating. It is. I mean, I've seen it. It is life altering and spiritually. Like, it causes you to it makes you face everything. But here's the other side of it, is that you're going through this detachment to connect phase, like, process. And it's going to make you the best parent ever, because you're going to understand, like, boundaries. You're going to understand you and what separates you from your kids. And you're going to be able to bend, and you're going to be the best parent ever. You're going to be the best parent ever. So how to actually respond to this is, 1, in the moment, every single time, or as much as you can, and be gentle on yourself, but as much as you can. I'm not so anyway, that involves bringing up every issue every time. Did you know that emotions are there's 2 things in relationships that are like facts, or that are like fixed, and that's emotions and that's needs. Okay? 2 things in relationships that are fixed is, 1, emotions. So, like, I feel fear. That's a fact. Like, that's a fact. I feel angry. That's a fact. It's the meaning of it that can change, and that's a whole other podcast. But you bring that up every time. Bring it up every time in relationships. That's emotional intimacy, is like an awareness of what's happening internally. That's what it's for. That's emotional intimacy. That's safety. Is I can express myself and be validated and be heard and be held. That's what it is. So number one is doing that. That's going to rebuild trust with yourself. And every time it's like, you're going to be sitting here like, this is so uncomfortable, but do it. Number two, it's getting your own life, finding your own happiness and meeting your own needs outside of the marriage. And within reason and with integrity, people. I don't mean go have sex with other people. Sex is not a need, by the way. Physical touch is, sex is not. Okay? That's what you need to understand, is sex is not a need. And if your man is telling you that, what does he even know what his needs are? Like other than sexually, because he definitely has emotional ones too. Does he know what those are? You could even approach it as like, oh, what are your emotional needs? Everybody has them. What are yours? Since you know so fucking much about needs. That's what did a video this week too about how estranged parents and men in relationships, like when you bring your feelings to them, they suddenly, their emotional intelligence is through the roof suddenly because they are experts on emotions. Like they're not. They're not. Stop taking everything he says at face value. Like that's his truth. No, it's not. No, it's not. This is how to hold someone accountable without managing them, by the way, is you just state your feelings and your needs. Say, I'm only interested in compassion and curiosity. And again, someone was like, that's actually not the right way to say it. Say like, I feel safe. Tone doesn't matter. What you say doesn't matter. It's the fact that you state it plainly. You can state your desires too. Like, I really want to talk with you and you're not open. And so I cannot do that. And I will not engage with you about anything emotionally or like sexually or whatever until you can. And this is going to take time. It may take a year. I don't know. Depending on how long this has lasted, what are their, like, how's he enabled in this way, all this other stuff. But again, the point is for yourself. And you get to do this as often as you need to do it. So number one, boundaries every time in the moment. Two, getting your own life, getting your needs met outside of the relationship. Three, expressing your desires all the time. Like, I can't wait till you figure this out until we're connected again and we can stop with this bullshit. I mean, you could say it like that. It doesn't matter what you say. You say it in your own voice. That's the point. That you find your own voice in this. And so guidelines for that are emotions, needs, and desires. I feel this way because I need this. And I want that so badly with you. I really do. Like, this is how you treat an addiction. It's like you protect yourself. You say, I really want a relationship with you. I can't be around fucking heroin in my house. Sorry. Like, go do it somewhere else. And I had someone who was like, that's an avoidance stream. And it's like, okay, I mean, take it up a level. What do they care about? There's a book. This is controversial, but there's a book. I think I've mentioned it before, but if you're a person of faith, you will like this book. It's, what is it? It's Boundaries in Marriage. It's by Cloud and Townsend. And, it's a book on, so it basically says that, if your partner is emotionally abusive in this way or like if they're overspending, for example, like don't let them have a credit card. It's kind of just like natural consequences. Or if like, what power do you have? Like if they leave their dishes in the sink every single day and no matter what you do, they don't put them away, put them on their nightstand. Like, don't put them away. Don't rescue them. Put them where it matters, where it affects them. These are just natural consequences to things. Get creative. Get flexible. What do they care about? Have boundaries around that stuff. What do you actually have control and power over? And if they say you're withholding or you're manipulating or whatever, that's again, persecuting and being a victim. That's not a reasonable response to a boundary. The only reasonable response is, oh my gosh, my bad. I'm taking care of this. This is what I'm doing. And I'm actually doing it. It's like, great. We're not going to do this until this is consistent and permanent. Great. I'm glad we can finally start living our lives in peace now because this problem is bullshit. I mean, that's the attitude. Have boundaries, get your own life, be flexible, like figure out the consequences that make sense for your relationship, and keep learning and like spiritually just be open. I don't care if you're of faith or not, but just like spiritually get open. Okay. Oh my gosh. I feel like I have so much more to say. I really hope I cover a lot. Um, I really hope you feel empowered. Go get that book. If you are someone of faith, you're going to like it. If you're someone not, like it may be trauma, like triggering, but it's the only book I know that's on this stuff. It's all mine, coming out in 10 years. I'm just kidding. I don't know. But stay tuned for Ben's stuff. Glad to be back, and I'll see you next time.